And welcome everyone to this public meeting, December 9th, 2024, 5 p.m. And we ask everyone to ensure their cell phones are off. We welcome those members of the public who will be attending tonight. And we also welcome those that are participating through electronic measures. And we'll have our roll call at this point, and I'll call out your names. Please respond. Councillor Neeb. Here. Councillor Oak. Here. Councillor Dietrich. Here. Councillor Vaughn. Here. And Deputy Mayor. Here. And Councillor McLeod-Haggett is not present. So we have quorum and we will go from there. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Are there any disclosures this time? Not seeing any. Move on to the purpose of the public meeting. I turn it over to our staff.
The purpose of this public meeting of Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of South Huron is to consider and review a proposed zoning bylaw amendment under Section 34 of the Planning Act. This meeting is also to allow interested members of the public the opportunity to ask questions or offer comments on the application. Council will not make a decision on the proposed amendments at this public meeting, but based on the recommendations and information received, the proposed amendments will be presented for approval at a regular council meeting. The public registry for the application is located by the door and will be held by myself, the clerk. If any member of the public would like to be notified in writing of the decision, they are to provide their name and mailing address. Members of the public do not have the right to appeal the decision. Only the applicant, the property owner, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, a specified person under the Planning Act, or a public body that has an interest in the matter may appeal the decision. Please refer to the County of Huron website for details about appeal rights.
And thank you. And we'll turn the meeting over to Ms. McIntosh. Selena, are you here on Zoom? Thank you. And welcome, Selena, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Finch. Good evening to the members of South Huron Council. This evening, I'm going to be speaking with you regarding zoning bylaw amendment application Z05-2024. The property subject to this amendment is located at 70786 Blue Water Highway. The owner of the property is Tridon Properties Limited, and the applicant on their behalf is Caroline Baker of Baker Planning Group. So I'll just skip ahead one slide here to explain at a high level what the applicant is looking to achieve with this application. We can summarize this as basically three main objectives. So in speaking regarding the first objective for council and the public's information, the subject lands are also subject to a draft plan approved plan of subdivision. This is often referred to as the Tridon or Solhaven plan of subdivision. So the first objective is to clean up the zoning to match red line changes to that draft plan that were approved earlier this year. Red line is a term just used to refer to minor draft changes that effectively change the dimensions of the originally approved subdivision blocks. The second objective is to increase the building footprint for single detached residences on lots in the subdivision that are zoned for same. And then the third and final objective is to permit a single detached residence on lot 3 of the draft plan. And that would be permitted prior to the removal of the holding symbol from the site. The intent here being that residence be used for a future model home. So if I move back a slide here, the three main objectives are basically proposed to be achieved through these specific zoning changes just shown on the screen. I will get into more detail regarding these changes later on in the presentation. So here's a 2020 air photo of the subject lands, just outlined in red. We are within the Greater Grand Bend area here with frontage onto Highway 21. These lands are designated residential low density and residential medium density in the South Huron official plan. They're zoned a number of different zones. That includes 1-17-H, which is a residential low density special zone. R3-14-H, which is a residential high density special zone. R3-15-H, a separate residential high density special zone, as well as OS1, which is our parks and open space zone, and U or utility zone with Conservation Authority regulated lands. So here's a photo of the updated draft plan showing the red line changes I mentioned earlier that do apply to this subdivision. So I'll go through kind of the zoning cleanups or changes associated with these red line changes. So the first one has to do with the area I'm circling on the screen here that is identified as Block 1. Block 1 here, the zoning is proposed to change from R3-14-H to R3-15-H. And the reason for that is because Block 1 has now been consolidated into what you see here as Block 5, meaning under the red line changes, they are all now one single block. That is a reflection of comments received from the Ministry of Transportation following draft plan approval. So the zoning is effectively proposed to change to match the remaining zoning on that larger Block 5. The second change of zoning, if we move to the south of Street A, just has to do with cleaning up the zoning along the boundaries of the stormwater management pond. So there's a minor change from basically that R1-17-H zone to U or utility, just to recognize Block 6 and its current boundaries as the stormwater management pond. If we move up to the north where it says Block 8 on the north side of Street C, Block 8 used to be identified as a residential low-density block. It's now been put aside as a future potential road allowance to the lands to the north. And so the zoning proposes to remove the zoning from that block since we don't apply zoning to roads in the South Huron zoning bylaw. So that's just a removal of zoning from that Block 8 block. Moving on here, I just want to make sure I capture everything here. Right, so another change is if you look at Block 74 here, we're now on the far east side of the plan. Not sure how well you can see my mouse, but Block 74 used to be a walkway block. It's now been consolidated into one single detached lot block. So the zoning there again is proposed to change from OS to R1-17-H. And then if we just move slightly south, just south of Block 75, kind of the opposite here, where we now have a walkway block. And so that is proposed to change from R1-17-H to OS. So that captures sort of the extent of zoning changes proposed as a result of specifically the red line amendment. So if we move on to the second objective being to increase the building footprint for the single detached lot, the applicant is seeking various site-specific zoning provisions that would achieve this. Specifically, she is proposing to reduce the interior side yard setback for all of the R1 lots from 1.5 meters to 1.2 meters when there is a residence built with an attached garage. She's also looking to increase the lot coverage for all of these lots for the main residence from 40% to 45%. And then corresponding the lot coverage for all buildings, so the residence and any subsequent accessory buildings, is proposed to also increase from 45% to 50%. And then lastly, when we're referring to just lots 16 through 43, which is effectively this area east of Street B, south of Street C, and north of Street D, for these lots specifically, there also is some changes proposed, and that would be just reducing the rear yard setback for these lots from 7 to 6 meters. So finally, when it comes to the model home, I'll be pointing our attention to lot 3 on the draft plan, which is just south of Street D here. So lot 3 is the lot proposed to permit one single detached residence prior to the removal of the holding symbol. The holding symbol, as council is aware, otherwise would prohibit structural development on the subject lands. The special provision allowing for this also proposes to provide relief from the standard driveway provisions permitted in the zoning bylaw, as it's not anticipated that the internal road network would be open at the time of construction. So effectively, as noted, this is just intended to allow for development to begin on one single detached residence so that it may be used as a future model home. So that's the summary of changes proposed as part of this amendment. Turning our attention to comments received, so no public comments have been received to date. As well, no comments have been received from Bell Canada or from the Ministry of Transportation. South Huron and Asabo Bayfield Conservation Authority have reviewed the application. They noted that they have no concerns. The staff report provides a much more detailed outline of the planning review for this application, and I'll just summarize it at a high level as part of my presentation. Effectively, it is my opinion that the zoning bylaw amendment continues to ensure the development is consistent with the Provincial Planning Statement 2024, specifically as it pertains to directing development to occur within a settlement area and to have a mix of residential forms permitted. Further, similarly, it does conform with the South Huron and Huron County official plans, again, in their support of growth occurring in designated settlement areas. Speaking to specifically the proposed setback reductions for those residential low-density lots, the applicant has provided a benchmarking assessment of other nearby jurisdictions to effectively demonstrate that those municipal zoning bylaws do contain the same provisions pertaining to lot coverage, rear yard setbacks, and side yard setbacks that she is seeking. This was also further supported by an engineering assessment submitted with the application that does speak to drainage and stormwater, and it effectively demonstrates that by increasing the building envelope for these lots, we're not having a negative effect on their ability to properly drain or have effective stormwater management. And then finally, as it pertains to that model home, holding symbols are generally used to ensure that development as a whole does not proceed until the appropriate servicing and agreements are in place. However, it's felt that the specific provisions for this model home are felt to appropriately ensure that, generally speaking, the development is going to remain quite scoped to this proposal, and that the structure will not be functionally used until the holding symbol has been removed. So just to wrap up here, it is my recommendation at this time that zoning bylaw amendment application Z05-2024 be approved. I know this is a big amendment, so certainly happy to answer any questions at this time or at a further time. Thank you.
Thanks, Selena. Are any questions from council at this time? Not seeing any, and we have no members of the public present. I'll turn to Madam Clerk. Do you have any wish to speak to it?
So the applicant, Caroline Baker, is online.
Welcome, Carolyn. Do you have any comments for us?
Good evening to the mayor, members, and council. Certainly, I did have a presentation, but Ms. McIntosh did an excellent job providing a summary of the amendment before you this evening. So certainly, I don't want to repeat what she's already indicated. What I would add is that of the three components before you this evening, one is generally just a cleanup from an approved red line to ensure that the zoning lines match the approved plan of subdivision. And the proposed reductions in terms of the zoning provisions, as noted, generally in line with surrounding municipalities in terms of lot coverage and setbacks. And as noted in our submission, Trident is interested in building more bungalows within the development to add greater accessibility to certain units. And essentially a bungalow, what I would call squashes and spreads, and it takes more land area essentially to accommodate a bungalow than a two-story. So certainly they're looking to accommodate that range of units, and of course would be appreciative of the opportunity to start a model home. As you can appreciate, when you're looking to sell homes, if there's something that buyers can view, that assists in that process. So I appreciate staff's time and effort on this in reviewing the application, and can certainly be available to answer if there is any further questions this evening. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any questions for Ms. Baker? Not seeing any, and there's no members of the public here. I turn to our clerk. Do you know if anyone else would like to speak to this at all?
So there's no one else online.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carolyn, for your time. And if there's nothing further, turn to Mr. Sewell-Carlson.
South Huron Council now closes this public meeting at 5:13 p.m.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Neeb.